Hey, Dad.
Yep.
Is the same thing going on with the protest in Minneapolis? The same thing with the Boston Tea Party?
You mean like with all the rioting and looting?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even Minneapolis, dude. It's everywhere. No, it's not. So here's some of the core issues. So the Boston Tea Party was with a group called the Sons of Liberty. And they weren't just mad because something was going on that they didn't like. Now, let me assure you, unfair taxation and being killed, being killed is awfully a much more horrible thing. But the comparison simply is this. People are violent today for something that they believe in. People were violent back then, and we celebrate it for something we believe in. The Boston Tea Party by the Sons of Liberty, what they were doing is that they were protesting something called the Stamp Act. And the Stamp Act was an illegal piece of legislature because it was just a local law against the colonies, and the colonies weren't allowed to vote on it. And they actually made quite a few petitions, but nobody was listening to them. Nobody changed it. It was reinforced. Now that's an important distinction, because as far as I can see, that there's nobody on the police force that's saying police brutality is okay. There's nobody on police force that's saying racism is okay. There's nobody in the government that is saying that it's okay. As a matter of fact, they're all saying, let's find it and let's stamp it out. And I think that really is a big key difference between, just the fundamental premise. But in the Boston Tea Party, the Sons of Liberty, when the reason why they went against that is because the tea was a monopoly. The tea was a government monopoly. It was government-owned tea, really. And that whether you bought the tea or not, the colonial citizens were going to be taxed for it. It could rot in the harbor, and they were going to still have to pay for the tax on it. So what the Sons of Liberty did is that they dressed up like Indians, which is going to be very important in a minute, because I think there's only one similarity. But they dressed up like Indians. They went on board. They threw all of the tea overboard. There was a demand among them that no private property is destroyed. The ship owner, his ship was swept so that no extra tea was laying around. They cleaned up after themselves. There was a lock that was broken, and it was even replaced. And I'll tell you one really cool thing. One of the guys, he put a bunch of tea in his pocket to take home. He got discovered. His clothes got ripped off of him, and he got sent home naked. Buck naked. And because they said, no, we're not stealing anything, we're not taking anything, the government is refusing to even listen to what we're saying, and they are, in a sense, they're saying that we can't have a voice in our government, and that's what the Sons of Liberty did. Now, here's the difference. I'm not saying brutality doesn't happen. I'm not saying racism doesn't happen, okay? But what I am saying is that you look at a lot of these areas where there are these problems. You have the leaders in the community, councilmen, sometimes mayors are black. You have many times the chief of police is black. You have many times committees that are black, and they have a voice. I'm not saying just because there's black people, it's okay for black people to have violence done to them. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying that there's a voice, and because they have a voice, because these riots was about destruction of private property, which Boston Tea Party was not, because of the looting and taking of personal property for personal gain, and that never happened with the Boston Tea Party or with the Sons of Liberty. So no, Dakota, there's not a justifiable connection between what is going on today and the Boston Tea Party. Love you.